What is going on today, you guys? This week we're talking about my top 10 favorite modern jazz records. Let's get right into it. So you guys, a few weeks ago I did a list on my top favorite jazz records, and those were mostly classic jazz records, older things that you would call classic jazz, of course. So this week I wanted to do one specifically on modern jazz records, mostly stuff in the past 10, 15 years. And keep in mind this list is once again in no particular order, I just kind of put all these together. These are some that I listen to all the time, so... Number 1 is a Joe Martin record entitled Not By Chance. This is a super cool record I found in the past few years, and it has a total super band of Joe Martin on bass, Brad Mehldau on piano, Chris Potter on sax, and last but certainly not least, Marcus Gilmore on drums. And this album is just chock full of really cool modern jazz tunes. And a song to definitely not miss on this record is the song In the Meantime. So definitely go check this one out. So next up at number 2 is almost a classic modern jazz record by this time, and that's Walter Smith III's Live in Paris. And this is such a cool record, again with Marcus Gilmore on drums, Walter Smith III on sax, Matt Brewer on bass, Aaron Goldberg on piano, and Ambrose Akinmusire on trumpet. So this is a really cool album. It has lots of takes of jazz standards in a really unique way that Ambrose and Walter Smith kind of developed through the years. And of course, once again, this is definitely a super band, so one of the tunes to definitely not miss on this record is pretty famous, but Stablemates. Definitely check that one out. So next up at number 3 is a record by guitarist Gilad Hexelman entitled Homes. And this record is once again with Marcus Gilmore on drums and Joe Martin on bass, so you might be recognizing a little bit of a trend of these cats I'm listening to all the time, but I absolutely love this record too. There's a song called Eyes to See on this record that is one of the most beautiful ballad type of tunes I know on any modern jazz record, and it's just captivating, this whole record. Songs like Parisian Thoroughfare are crazy, really cool take on a jazz standard, but the tune I would absolutely listen to if you were only going to listen to one tune on this record is the ballad Eyes to See. So definitely check this record out, Homes by Gilad Hexelman. So next up is definitely one of my favorite artists of all time, Joshua Redman, and this is his latest record entitled Come What May. And this is with one of his two really great quartets, and this one has Greg Hutchinson on drums, Reuben Rogers on bass, and Aaron Goldberg on piano. And this is such a cool record. I actually got to see this band live pretty recently at SF Jazz before the pandemic, and this band will just blow you away anytime you see them live. Each one of these musicians is just the absolute best at what they do. This record is entitled Come What May, and the tune to definitely check out if you're only going to check out one on this is called How We Do. Yeah, check out this record, Come What May by Joshua Redman. Next up at number 5 is yet another Joshua Redman record, and this is actually more of a collective record, although it's mostly under Joshua Redman's name. It also stars Ron Miles on trumpet and cornet, Brian Blade on drums, and Scott Colley on bass. And this band collectively is a band they call Still Dreaming, and this is mostly a tribute band to a band called Old and New Dreams with Ed Blackwell, Dewey Redman, who's Joshua Redman's dad, Charlie Hayden on bass, and of course Don Cherry on cornet. So this is basically the same instrumentation as that original quartet, and they do some of the tunes they used to do in the Old and New Dreams quartet, and also some originals by Joshua Redman and Ron Miles, and also Scott Colley and Brian Blade sometimes. So this is a really cool record entitled Still Dreaming. And if you were going to only listen to one song on this record, I would definitely check out the tune Unanimity. It's the second tune on this record, and it is just so cool, especially with the way Joshua Redman and Ron Miles play together. And of course, you can never go wrong with Scott Colley and Brian Blade. So definitely check out this record, Still Dreaming. So next up at number 6 is a record a lot of you guys might not have heard of, and this is a record called Wood by Francesco Coniglio. And Francesco Coniglio is a drummer that is pretty young still. I think he is still under 30 years old. And he's a drummer originally from Italy that went to school out in New York at Juilliard, and he is just an incredible drummer. He's a really great writer as well. And this record is with Aaron Parks on piano and Joe Sanders on bass, so once again, a pretty awesome band. And this record features all of his original compositions, and they're all really unique and interesting, so I would definitely check this record out. And if you were going to only listen to one tune on this record, I would definitely listen to the title track, Wood. So next up at number 7 is another really young musician's record, and this is Giveton Jellin's record, True Design, and this came out only a few months ago now. And Giveton is definitely one of the brightest jazz musicians of our generation. And once again, this is kind of a super band of really young musicians that are definitely rising stars. It includes Gifton on trumpet, Emmanuel Wilkins on alto sax, Micah Thomas on piano, Phil Norris on bass, and Kyle Benford on drums. So all of these guys actually went to Juilliard in New York together, and they just have a really, really unique, cool sound, and Gifton's compositions are all incredible. So if you're only gonna listen to one tune on this record, I would definitely check out the tune Inner Perception. If you ever get the chance to hear this band live, definitely do. And this is kind of one of the themes they play live, so definitely check out this record called True Design by Gibson Jellin. So next up at number 8 is a record entitled Bellwether by tenor saxophonist Seamus Blake. And this record once again has a pretty ridiculous band of Lage Lund on guitar, of course Seamus Blake on tenor sax, Dave Kokoski on piano, Matt Closey on bass, and of course, the great Bill Stewart on drums. So this is a really, really cool record, and I really, really enjoy the tune Subterfuge on this record specifically. So if you were just gonna check out one tune on this record, definitely check out the tune Subterfuge. And this is a really, really cool original by Seamus Blake, and it totally showcases Bill Stewart's drumming, and it's just a crazy head between Lage Lund and Seamus Blake. So I would definitely check this album out. Once again, this album is called Bellwether by Seamus Blake. Next up at number 9 is Vijay Ayer's record Break Stuff. And this is once again a really unique and interesting record. If you haven't heard Vijay Air before, this might be a really cool one to get into his playing. Vijay Ayer's trio specifically is very, very rooted in rhythmic playing, and I'm pretty sure he teaches at Harvard actually, so he's pretty incredible, but that all ties into this rhythmic aspect. All of his compositions have a really, really cool, deeply rooted framework and rhythm and all these different things. So his playing is really interesting, and specifically with this trio, it's really, really cool. So if you're just gonna check out one tune on this record, Break Stuff, I would definitely check out the Thelonious Monk composition, Work. This band definitely does not play standards often, but it's a really, really interesting way of playing this standard. So yeah, check out Work by Thelonious Monk on this record, Break Stuff by Vijay Ayer. Last, but certainly not least, is the record Aziza by Lionel Loeke, Chris Potter, Eric Harland, and legendary bass player Dave Holland. So once again, this is an absolute super band, and every composition on this record is really interesting. Whenever you put Lionel Loeke's guitar playing into a record, it makes it so interesting and cool. And then on top of that, you have Chris Potter on sax, you have Eric Harland on drums, and you have Dave Holland on bass. It is a super, super unique band, and if you were just gonna listen to one tune on this record, I would definitely check out the tune Aziza Dance. This is once again a really rhythmically complex tune, but the melody is also really, really beautiful. And most of this tune is actually in like 17, I think. I've played this tune before. One of my good friends, Tony Golden, shout out, wrote a chart for this tune actually, which is pretty ridiculous in itself. But yeah, Aziza Dance is super complex, really cool, beautiful melody. So definitely check out this album, Aziza. Alright you guys, that's gonna do it for this top 10 list this week of my top 10 favorite modern jazz records. And if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd really, really appreciate it if you go down below and hit that subscribe button. It would mean a ton to me and the channel. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.